points. Okay. So yesterday we tried to understand the concept of state. Okay. And in that, we tried to understand different aspects of it. We tried to understand different approaches to the state, in which prominently we discussed about liberalism or liberal approach to the state, and then we discussed about Marxian state. We also discussed about something called social contract theory. Okay, so these were the few things which we have discussed. We tried to understand the meaning of state, and then we have also tried to understand the origin of the state. Okay, so this is the background which we have covered so far. Today, what we will be doing is it's all about legitimacy, sovereignty, and its crisis. Okay, the further point we discussed about state, and now we have to understand its legitimacy. So when any state is established or formed, first we have to keep it in mind that there are four elements of state. First one is, of course, population. Second, geographical boundary. Third, government. And fourth is sovereignty. Okay, these are the four elements without which you cannot have the state. Okay, just imagine any state, India, Pakistan, China, or Brazil, or United States, and you will find all these four elements over there. You will witness population, people over there. You will also witness defined territory, like we have our boundary, north, south, east, west, right? We have defined boundary for India. Then we have our own government in India. This is the third one. And fourth one is sovereignty. That is, the the people who are living in India are sovereign. And the government which is elected by the people, right? The government represents people. Therefore, government also becomes legitimate. Okay. So here it's all about the legitimacy of the ruler. Who is actually ruling? When you have monarchy, monarch rules, that is king or queen. When you have democracy, you have people's rule. When you have dictatorship, only one person dominates over the governance. When you have military rule, only military takes control of the entire state. Okay, so these are the different rulers who are ruling in different countries. So if you question or if you try to understand that who is more legitimate out of them, so you will understand the point of it. Legitimacy is when people give their mandate to the government, when people recognize the government. Okay, for instance, the government in India which we have today is elected by the people. All right, the government which we had in past was also elected by the people, and that is the reason due to which we consider these governments as legitimate governments. However, you can just imagine a country where there is no democracy, and there might be some other form of government. Let's take military rule, for instance. Okay, so military rule is there. When military rule is there, so is that military authorized to rule? That is the question. The people who are living in that particular country, have they authorized them? These military personnels, are they taking the consent from people to rule over them? The answer is no, obvious no, because nobody really wants military rule. Nobody takes it. Or if you ask the same question to a dictator, that particular dictator, whether he has taken consent from people, so of course not. Same is the case with monarch, right? So whatever we can say non-democratic regimes are there, whatever non-democratic setups are there, those are not treated as legitimate governments. Okay. However, they establish their control over there, and due to that establishment, people has to eventually, we can say, accept the dominance or the we can say, authority of the ruler, and in this way they becomes a real representative of a particular state. Okay. And when they becomes a representative of that real, we can say, that state, they represent that state or that country on global platforms. Let's take this North Korea for understanding. North Korea has, his president who is a dictator, Kim Jong Un, right? Or you can take the example of Saudi Arabia. There is a monarch. In Syria, there is a dictatorship. However, when it comes to international platforms like United Nations Organization or G20 Summit or whatever global platforms you can think of, you will always witness that these leaders represent their countries over there, right? So internationally they are known, internationally they are recognized as the leader of that nation. However, it is equally important that the people of the same country should also, you know, give consent to that leader. You can understand from this scenario that whenever elections are held in any country, so after that election, let's assume if the ruling party loses majority, the ruling party prime minister loses majority, and opposition party wins the election, and still the existing ruling party denies to step down. Okay, the existing prime minister denied to step down or resign from his or her post. So what shall be done in this case? Right. The law says that the one who is elected by the people, that person should be appointed as prime minister, and he or she has the authority to be on that position. So it doesn't matter how physically strong you are, how physically weak you are, right? It's all about rule of law. Okay, when you have rule of law in your particular country, nobody can stop you, right, from getting that position. So even if the existing prime minister denies to step down, that person will be, or that prime minister will be removed from his office by the government itself. Because judiciary is also there now, and judiciary always ensures that the rule of law shall be established. And if someone is not abiding to the rules, abiding to the law, that person will be outlawed. Immediately that person will be removed from the power. So now I hope you got the point. So here what is important? People's mandate, people's consent is essential to rule over them. And when you get the consent, when you get the, you can say, permission from people through the electoral process, then you can call yourself as legitimate ruler or legitimate governor, okay, or administrator, whatever it can be. So I hope now this concept of legitimation is clear to all of you. The question is, when it comes to, we can say, people who are not identifying, the people who are not recognizing them as a government, but still that element or that political party establishes the rule by force. You can take the example of same Hamas, for instance, the ongoing issue, and you will understand. Right, in Gaza, at present, the war is going on between Israel and Gaza. Okay, this war is not exactly between Israel and Palestine. Remember, Palestine is divided in two parts. Okay, so this war is going on only between Israel and Gaza. And what kind of government is there, or who is ruling in Gaza? There is one terrorist organization which is internationally declared as terrorist organization. On the other hand, they call themselves as political party in Gaza. Okay, and they claim that we rule this region. Okay, only that Hamas rule over that region. So in this case, the question arises whether Hamas is a legitimate government or illegitimate government. There is a crisis, right? We have to understand this point as well. And what legitimacy talks about, if the people are giving their mandate, then only you can become legitimate. If, then absolutely your government is okay. So that comes into it. And from there only the concept of nation state arises. Okay. Again, for your clarification, let me tell you just in a minute about nation and state. State, just now you understood what exactly do we mean by state and what constitute the state. Four elements, and if any one of them is absent, you cannot call it as a state. I'm repeating for you. First is population, second is defined territory, third is government, and fourth is sovereignty. These are the four most essential elements of any state. Okay, those who calls themselves as country, you can just apply these four criteria and you will come to know that yes, they are correct. However, when it comes to nation, this is somewhat different. Okay, nation is a feeling of oneness, feeling of having unity. Okay, when you feel or when you believe that we all are one, right? We all are brothers and sisters of each other. Okay, so here you have unity, here you have one common thread which is connecting all of you in common, right? So when you have such kind of common threads, then only you can call yourself as nation. If you are divided on multiple lines, religious line, caste was line, or we can say racial lines, or whatever it can be, if the community is divided on different lines, that country cannot be called as a nation. However, still you can be a state, you can be a country, but you cannot be a nation. Okay. For getting called yourself as a nation, you have to have unity or any common thread which unites all of you. Okay. And that is why the common feeling is required over here. So it is somewhat we can say nation is an emotional, right, term. Okay. Whereas country is, or state is altogether geographical term. Okay. Then we will take the next point in the same, that is globalization. Just now we discussed about nation state. Nation state is what? Where you have feeling of oneness and altogether you have four elements. So you can call yourself as country also and nation also. So this is the perfect example of having any modern state. All the modern states are known by the name called as nation state, because they are nation also, they are state also, and this is full form of the government, or we can say the country. When you have those two things together, you became a modern country, right? But now this nation state is also being challenged. Okay, how it is challenged? By the procedure of globalization, right? Globalization is an element, or we can say a product, which is arised from West Europe, right? And from there onward, it is continuously spreading across the globe, because globalization doesn't have any boundaries, right? The term globalization itself speaks about it. The term globalization itself, you know, gives idea about the concept called transnational borders, where you do not have any border at all. You cross them and you trade, you exchange goods and services and ideas and everything without any hurdle at any international borders, right? And many times we believe that globalization is just an exchange of goods and services. Yes, but that is narrow meaning of it. Yes, globalization is an exchange of goods and services. Along with that, we have to understand that this is involved in ideas as well. Okay, ideas and thoughts are also exchanged globally, and social sciences deals with those ideas, right? So here you can take democracy for instance. What happens in democracy is that people's government is established, okay, and this concept is again given by the Western countries, where they believed, or to which we call Westphalian Treaty. Many of you know about it. Westphalian Treaty talks about it, wherein they agreed that all the monarchs should step down, all the authoritarian governments which are in power at present without consent of the people should step down, okay, and people's elected government shall be established. Okay, and why people's government or why people's elected government? There is a reason again behind it, because eventually people are the source of power for anyone. People are the major taxpayers of any country, right? It is like, it is like you are a part of any company. Okay, you have invested your capital in that company, and still you are not authorized to take any decision. This is something like that. So for that, what you need to do is, you have, when you are investing in any particular company, so definitely you will get some share out of it. Let's assume you hold 30 or 40% share in the company. So you are, right, owner of that company. And when you are one of the major owner of the company, so definitely your consent has to be taken while taking any decision, while framing any policy for the company, isn't it? So is the case with democratic setup as well. Here people are paying tax to the government. Government is not producing money itself. Whatever money we are paying through our taxes, direct taxes, that is income tax or any other different direct tax, and indirect taxes, which is GST. Okay. So here you can understand that since people are paying to the government, therefore their consent is essential in decision making process. Okay, and that is the reason due to which we need to have, you can say, a legitimate government. Okay, but what is happening nowadays, that this sovereignty of that legitimate government is also deprived or diminishes. Okay, sovereignty is also falling down. How it is falling down, you can understand through the international perspective. When you have your own government, it is very obvious that government will take decision for the nation. So here, why government is taking decisions for the nation? Because it is quite obvious that people have elected and given power to that government. Okay, and after giving power, they are in a position to take charge of the nation. So therefore, they are legitimate representatives of the people. So in short, whatever decisions are taken by the government, they are considered as the decisions taken by the people themselves. Okay, so this should be very much clear. In direct democracy, what we do is people directly take the decisions. However, in indirect democracy or representative democracy, representatives of the people takes decision on behalf of the people. Okay, so that is a major point to be understood. So now you understood that this government or a particular government has authority because people have elected them. But What happens in reality? Nowadays, multiple international agencies have been established, organizations have been established, to which we call intergovernmental organizations like United Nations or G20 or BRICS or WTO, right? Or IMF or World Bank. These are the different examples, right? And what we do here, these organizations frame policies for the entire world, for all members of those agencies. So when any particular decision is taken in World Bank, this decision is applicable to all the member countries. So till now, what we were doing, we were taking the decision at central level or union level in a particular country. But now, someone else is taking the decision on behalf of your country. So far, only your state government and central government they were taking the decisions. But when internationally these global platforms they frame policies, you have to abide them, right? For instance, you can take the example of climate change, right? When all the members throughout the globe they gather at one place and they discuss about the rapid changes in the climate. Okay, global warming can be one of them, and eventually what they do is they come to they comes to the, you can say, consensus. Consensus is what, a decision at one particular point where everyone comes to the conclusion that yes, we do agree with this policy or something like that. So these international agencies are now taking decisions, and central governments are becoming powerless, in short. Okay. And now one may simply, understand that what's wrong in that. If international agencies are taking the decisions for global community to have unanimous, agreements between each other and to maintain law and order globally, so that is a good thing. Yes, it is absolutely good thing. We should have it. However, the problem with this concept is that equal representation is not given to all the countries. That is a major concern. Then who takes the charge of these communities or these organizations? Again, powerful nations, to which we call first world countries like European countries or United States. They always dominate over these organizations. And when they dominate, eventually what will happen? Decisions will be tilted towards these countries. So all the decisions will always favor these powerful dominant countries, and they will utilize these international platforms or agencies as the puppets of West and other powerful countries. So now you will understand that how, we can say, difficult it is to accommodate with them. That is a major reason due to which we can say that there is a crisis on sovereignty of any particular country. So far, we were deciding that which company shall be established in India, what kind of manufacturing shall be done in India. But now, international agencies decides that how much percentage of pollution you will create every year, right? How much manufacturing of any particular commodity you will produce every year. Not only that, in fact, there are few restrictions like American law, which is called as CATSA, Countering American Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. What this law does, America can declare sanctions against any country, okay, if they feel that that particular country is an adversary or enemy of that country. Now you can take the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. What America did over here, America declared economic sanctions against Russia. And there they openly declared that no country shall have any kind of financial relations, import and export from Russia. Okay. So now you may, again understand the point that who is America to decide what India shall do and what not. We should have good relations with Russia or not will be decided by America. Whether we should have good relations with Iran and Israel will be decided by America. If they are the decision makers, then how we can call our own government as a legitimate government and a sovereign government? Because that government is powerless. Okay, and because of this, the point of crisis arises. Okay, that is something over there. Secondly, we have to understand that how these we can say advanced countries are affecting third world countries, because whenever it comes to trade, right, these countries always dominate over third world countries. Third world countries are what? Newly, you can say, uh, newly, those countries who are, we can say, recently, freed by the colonial powers. Like India is also one of them. We were a colony of British government for decades and centuries, and in the year 1947 we got independence. So in this category, in this case, India is also called as third world countries because we are not as advanced as Western countries are. Of course, we can say much powerful than them, but when it comes to different parameters, we lack somewhere over there. So the problem over here is what? That's due to, we can say, lacking behind in few things. We are also lacking in international decision making process, and due to this, the most advanced countries takes the advantage of this. Okay, and finally they dominate through their foreign policy. One more example you can take for import and export. Okay, today you can just imagine that how much do we import and what is the percentage of export. And the facts and the data says that we import more and export very less, right? And what we import to a large extent is oil and gas, right? We need oil because due to our energy security, we need to have petrol and oil in the country, without which we cannot just imagine the development. Without oil and petrol, we cannot just function. All the vehicles will stop. All the, we can say, even essential services like ambulance will not be able to, not be in a position to reach the destination without fuel. So this is highly, we can say, essential commodity in India. Right? That is happening. So we are importing more and more and exporting comparatively very less. And this is the phase, okay, to which we call trade deficit. So we are in deficit in terms of trade. And those Western countries, or we can say European countries, they are always in trade surplus. You can even take the example of China, because China exports more and imports very less. Their manufacturing industry is booming in China due to that manufacturing and low cost commodities. They can export their goods across the globe. In India also we can say many China made products. We all know that due to some or the other reason we have to purchase that, and we are doing it. Nowadays government is launching various policies like Atmanirbhar Bharat and Made in India schemes and many other things over there. So slowly and steadily we are moving towards manufacturing, hub. However, it will take some time, which is very much obvious. So now I hope you got the idea of globalization and its impact on the developing countries like India. Okay. And this is something very much essential for the students of public administration to understand. Just now we discussed about, we can say, Westphalian model. Okay. And in this Westphalian model, what we did is liberal state and balance of power was the center point. Liberal state in the sense what? All the governments across the globe will have minimum powers. Okay. These government will not exercise maximum power, or rather they will have less powers in their control. In fact, people will have more amount of liberty, right? People will be enjoying more amount of liberty. Therefore, we have to reduce the power of government. That's what the liberal idea talks about. Because if the powers of the government increases, eventually people have to suffer. And you can understand just by one example of pre-1991. We had something called license Raj in India. Okay. Many of you might be, aware of this. We had something called license Raj, in which you were supposed to take license for starting any manufacturing company or even small shop also. Even if you want to start a small business, you were supposed to take license from the government. And if you don't have the license, you cannot start your business. Even small business also cannot be started without license. So somewhere it looks fine, that what's wrong in that. However, again, there are issues with that. When it comes to issuing the license to the people, directly the president or prime minister will not do that. Right? On behalf of the government officers will do that. Bureaucracy, right? Government officers will issue licenses to the people after scrutinizing all the documents of that company. So what was happening over here? This license was becoming hurdle for the companies and people across the country in India. What we were doing at that time is we were simply relying on the government officers that they will give the license and then only we will begin with the business. But what these officers were doing is corruption. They were taking the bribe from people, and it is very much apparent. All the records are available in the government, you can say, so anyone can just cross check with that. So due to this corrupt activities, people were not getting the license quickly. They were supposed to wait for months and years sometimes, and that government officer was not about to sign on that. When that person will sign? Only when the bribe will be paid to him. Okay, so it is like, if you want license, just pay bribe, just go for corruption, and then you can get the license from the government. That was the idea. Just imagine that if these hurdles are there, Can we start with any particular business? The answer is no, because everybody cannot afford to pay the bribe, and you never know how much is the amount of bribe. It can be 10,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, or 50 lakh also. Depends on the mindset of that government officer, how much he will take. So because of this, manufacturing was completely halted in India, and due to which, again, we could not start with the manufacturing industry in time. However, China took the advantage of that. China did the same thing over there. They removed all these barriers very quickly. They adopted globalization and liberalization in very early phase, and because of that, they got the upper edge in this. During this time, they established their industries, companies, and now you can witness that almost we can say entire world is importing goods from China. Okay, so this is something which we have to understand, and because of this reason only, we have to minimize the powers of the government, so that government will never, or we can say, will not interfere in citizens' life all the time. Wherever it is required, it should. It is expected. But where it is not required, there government's you know presence is not expected. Right? And many activities shall be left for the citizens and not for the government. You must have heard a famous statement called government has no business in business. Right? It is only because of that. Even one more famous term is there for that, which is minimum government, maximum governance. Okay, this is also talks about the same. So, in short, these ideas are discussed throughout the globe. One more term which we are supposed to discuss is balance of power. Okay, this term is applicable at two levels. One is at national level, and second one is at international level. Balance of power is something where you have to maintain equilibrium between different organizations or agencies or the organs of the government. For instance, we have parliament, we have executive, that is government, and we have judiciary. These are the three major organs of any government, or we can say state for that matter. Now the question arises that who shall get more powers? One would say that parliament, because parliament is people's body. People elect them. Since people are sovereign, therefore parliament should get more power. That is true. Second, someone would say that judiciary get more power because parliament can sometimes, misuse their power. So judiciary should have more power so that judiciary can control these politicians and bureaucracies, right? Yes, that is also true, but not to a large extent, because both the statements are extreme in nature, right? Then what is the we can say middle path? The middle path is that we should establish equilibrium over here. Let's distribute the powers equally between all three organs. At the very same time, we have to also apply the concept of checks and balances. Okay. Checks and balances is something where we do not let any organ to be over powerful. For instance, let's assume if the parliament is going to frame unconstitutional law. Okay. Let's assume parliament decides that we will misuse the power sometimes and we will frame one arbitrary law. Okay. So in this case, parliament may frame it. However, it will be challenged in the judiciary and judiciary will struck it down. Okay. Judiciary will just simply take it down. Judiciary will not allow to do so. because judiciary will cross check, is it falling under the ambit of or the jurisdiction of constitution? If yes, then it is legal. If not, then it is illegal. And if it is illegal, it will be scrapped immediately. So even big decisions of the parliament and the governments are suspended by the judiciary. We have had a history of this. Okay. So here we are trying to control or keep check over the parliament through judiciary. On the other hand, there is a higher possibility that even judiciary may also misuse their power, right? That judges are also human being, right? They can also be corrupt. They can also take bribe from someone, and they may deliver injustice rather than delivering justice, right? So in this case, judiciary also has to be checked, and that provision is also made in the constitution. Okay, it is impeachment procedure. If any judge delivers injustice rather than justice, immediately parliament will come in action, and parliament may suspend that particular judge on grounds of proven injustice. Okay, I'm using the word proven injustice. It's not that government is just targeting a particular judge and then they may suspend. No, again that is not possible, because you have to prove it whether that judge is really corrupt or not. If he is or she is proven, then only you can suspend that judge. And this procedure is called as impeachment procedure. Okay. So what we did over here, we tried to establish balance between multiple organs. Even parliament is, even though it is powerful, still it cannot cross its boundaries. Judiciary is also powerful, but judiciary is also unable to cross its limits. Okay. So everyone is checked and controlled over here in the administration, and which is expected also, because everyone is accountable to each other, right? So this balance of power which we discussed is at national level, and second one, just now I told you that there is one more balance of power at international level, where we do not let any country to be more powerful. Okay, so whenever any country decides, or whenever any country tries to be more powerful, what we do is multiple countries join hands together, and then they try to balance it out. Okay, you may understand by this example that Pakistan is weaker in front of India, right? So here there is disbalance, right? Pakistan seems to be always, we can say, less powerful than India. But when Pakistan joins hand with China, it becomes headache for India, right? So now, even though Pakistan is less powerful than India, still Pakistan is trying to maintain balance with the help of China. So this is something, where we try to balance out. Okay. So this is internationally applicable. We are not supposed to discuss that. Just for instance, for understanding, I just explain that concept. Okay. Fine. I think now the time is about to over. Just 2-3 minutes are left. If any one of you has any question, you may please proceed, or just ask question if you have.
One student has raised the hand, sir. She may ask now.
Yes. Who has the query or question? Okay, I think, sir, nobody has the question, I believe. Sharma, sir?
हाँ सर, मैं सुन रहा हूँ. सेजल जी उठाए थे. She has raised her hand. If she is there, she
Okay.
can ask. Anyone else? whosoever want to interact. Okay, sir. It seems no question is there.
Yes, sir.
I am closing this session, and
Yes.
for 5:45 another session will begin for other program.
Yes. Sure, sir. Thank you.